game's just fucking bullshit. Also, would you believe me if I told you I put all of this up just for this video? You better thank me for that, you stupid dumb. But anyways, the Sonic Boost series. It's trash. Goodbye. No, but really, what is this gameplay style? We've been living with this for... Wait, how old Sonic Unleashed again? Something like that. 17! Okay, so we've been going at this for almost 2 decades, and I think I've, gonna make my say right here, right now. Is Sonic Unleashed actually 17? Anyway, someone fact check me on that. This series is just Boost to Win. Yay, there's one button. And you may be like, oh, well, you press a button to go fast. And the game about going fast, well, why would you say that? There's no skill to it. Well, and you literally just, get carried by springs and other shit. Take the rival battle for Shadow in Sonic Generations, as you're seeing right now. What am I doing for 90% of the time? Boosting. That's it. You just boost, you get a couple rings, you drift a bit, you grab the thing, right? What's Sonic's attack, huh? After you grab it. Let's have a look. Oh my god, wow, boost! Amazing game! Oh wow! This is so crazy! Oh, I wonder what's gonna happen! Maybe Sonic kills Shadow or something. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? I just need to explain this problem. So, welcome to this video where I'm gonna explain the Sonic Boost formula problem. Yes, Shadow's dying. Yeah, baby. So obviously I'm not going to talk about every single game in the series like Sonic Crush or Sonic Crush Adventure. I'm just going to talk about the mostly 3D orientated games such as Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Generations, Sonic Forces, Sonic Colors, and as weird as this may sound, Sonic Frontiers and Shadow Generations. Now you may think, why those last two? Well, there's actually the cyberspace stages in Sonic Frontiers, and the open world isn't really the main problem. It's mainly how you traverse, especially with the max rings boost and such. And there's also one game that I'm going to leave a surprise for the very end. No, this is not Sonic Chronicles blurred out to simulate a different game. Why would I do that? The gameplay. As I said, we're going to look at mainly 6 games, that being the ones formerly mentioned. So let's start with the first, shall we? Sonic Unleashed. Now obviously this game is split into 2 paths, Hedgehog and Werehog. So obviously today we're going to talk about Hedgehog because he's the boost one. Werehog, hey, get the fuck out. You're not here for now. Anyway, this is mainly the most skillful Sonic game, and that's not to say the skill is exactly fun. It's certainly the most skilled out of any of these games that we're going to talk about. Mainly due to the QTEs that you constantly have to pay attention to. Quick time event if you don't know. So, yeah. This is just the game that started the 3D formula. Sonic Rush, we know you exist. And it's not the worst, but certainly not the best, because it still demonstrates the main problem here. Boost to Win. Obviously you're gonna homing attack and shit as well, but it's still so fucking boring. Just react to the things that come and you'll be fine. Now these levels are fun, and I'm not trying to say, oh, these games all suck, because they don't. The formula for it sucks. See, I'm not trying to give hate to these games, all of these are fine enough, but they're just not the right direction. You could, you could pull into your closet and just grab a game like, oh, I don't know, Sonic. And pull a game like Sonic Adventure. Like this game, spam dashing, I guess. But you get the picture. It's more Sonic orientated, and I'm not trying to say that. And not. Why am I opening the case? You can question me for these types of things, and I couldn't give you an answer. Point is, these games aren't built for the formula that they have. At least, not some of them. Because Sonic Unleashed, maybe Generations, but the problem is with Generations is that they're old levels. What were these levels built in mind for? Not the boost. That's the case in point, you see. That could be applied to Shadow Generations as well, but Shadow Generations are more new designs, which fit with the boost. But we'll get to Shadow Generations later. And whilst this Unleashed section may have been a bit short, I can't really give much about Unleashed. It's a good game, and half of it's Warhog, so we can't really talk much about this game. Now, let's move on to the one that probably did it the best. Yeah, I said that. I'll say it again. Sonic Generations probably did the best justice to the boost formula. Maybe not perfection, and certainly far from great, but it's probably the most detailed the boost has ever been. Allow me to demonstrate. I hope you see the point of they integrate the boost into the platforming here. That's what makes it perfection in terms of the boost formula. Now maybe if the sun came out, you can't even see a full... I don't know. Oh, it's recording. Well, yeah, Sonic Generations probably does it the best because, as I said, it integrates the boost with the platforming. Like you saw in that gameplay, I did like boost jumps to get to Badniks and such. So I can't use integrate again because that's just a fucking movie. But you know what I mean. It does it. It proves the best because it can do stuff for it. But come on, do we really have to talk about this game? I'm going over the game, aren't I? Let's talk about Sonic Forces, but only Sonic stages and Shadow stages, because Shadow is 3 stages, because everyone forgot that. I hate this. I don't hate this game. It's just a bit. Not really any hate to the game, but to be honest, Sega didn't know what they were doing with it. So, they just split the game into four, one quarter being Sonic, the other being Avatar, another classic, and the final one is practically the Sonic and Avatar, because they're in quite a few levels. So when you decompile the game, it's definitely a lot smaller, especially when the stages are like a minute, so you only really get like maybe 2 hours of playtime. Anyway, this is just the most basic I think Boost has been, because there's no mechanics, it's literally just the boost. So, scenery change, and new Knuckles, a new controller too? Get used to this. Anyway, I think that Forces could have done it a lot better, but maybe it's a budget, but Forces in general is just Forces. Now we're gonna go to 2010, or I guess 2021, because seizure time. So like Forces, this one is also quite simple in terms of how the game does it, but it has mechanics that balance it out as well, such as the Wisps, which have a fair trade-off, I would say, in terms of gameplay. Like, half the time you're boosting, half the time you're using your Wisps. Even though it may seem like you're boosting more, it might be that you are doing more than just boosting, which is the main problem with some of the games. The problem with this game is Supersonic, where the trade-off is that you don't use the Wisps, and when you become Supersonic you have unlimited boost, can perform amazing tricks on one button, and can destroy cubes that Wisps usually could, making them effectively useless. So that's just a warning for if you want to play as this guy. So this is again one of the more simpler boost type games, such as Forces, but overall it was balanced with the Wisps, which I can respect. Now let's move on to Frontiers. In this specific instance, we're going to be talking about cyberspace, because it matches the rest of the games on here, so it makes it more fair, as the boost in the overworld is more of just a slight increase in speed and nothing else. Cyberspace is like Generations, where it's old levels remixed to make something that wasn't originally intended for the boost, and therefore it doesn't work sometimes. Such as some parts in adventure-esque levels where the game just doesn't know how to cooperate, because even though they redesigned these levels for the boost so that it does work, sometimes it still just doesn't want to, and it will just do its own thing. So with this game, it's not really a problem of the controls, it's more of a problem of reusing content that, like Generations, wasn't built for it, if that makes any sense. But with Frontiers, it is a minor part of the gameplay, and you don't really go back to it that much if you're not 100%ing. So in all honesty, it's not that big of a deal. But you know it is a big deal. When Doom powers come into play. My copy ended up like that after the scene, I'm not even joking, bro. So this is a situation where I wouldn't criticize the open world with the gameplay like Frontiers, but unlike Frontiers, the same engine, or at least movement type, is used in all of the areas of the game, whether that's the bosses, the actual stages, or white space. So I will criticize it even for white space. And I mean, I don't really want to criticize it because there isn't much wrong with this engine. It's just, with the game that it's bundled with, it feels very, very different to Sonic Generations, to the point where it doesn't really that much feel like Sonic Generations, even though they're both the same concept. And I know it's because of all the Doom abilities, but for a level like Tokyo, which doesn't feature them at all, it really shows how this level's kind of trying to be a Generations-esque level. Sonic Generations, that is. But it just ended up feeling like a bland Shadow Generations level for the sake of a Sonic 3 crossover. So, yeah, Shadow Generations is probably, Sonic Generations, one of the best ways to do it. It's just, with the game that's bonded with, it just feels very unfamiliar. So yeah, not too much going on with Shadow Generations. But I did say there was one more game, and here it is. I mean, it's not different from the actual thing. Get out! Fine, I'll talk about it. Sonic Sonic Speed Simulator is a piece of shit. That uses the boost in its reborn from then stages, which just gave me this. As I was saying, it's just an open world Sonic game. Probably, I don't know what you would call it aside from crap. But yeah, it's just like open zone with the boost formula and spin dash. And it controls good. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, the boost is just the boost, but the game, like, it has adventure style controls. It controls good. That's it. I don't want to talk about this game ever. Don't want to ever talk about that ever again. But that's the Sonic Boost problem. To summarize, it's make the game too easy time. Now, I'm gonna go play other games. Such as Pizza Tower. Why am I playing on a development? Now, for this section, I'm mainly going to talk about stuff like how long the game had of development, how the game is being perceived, how the game's going, is there any updates to the game, and such like that. Because obviously things can change, such as patches for Sonic X Shadow Generations, and future updates for... But yeah, so let's see how these games' development started. But no, there's no camera sections here. Sorry. I'm ugly though, so it doesn't matter. Before we start, I want to give a huge thanks to Sonic WikiZone for even existing. Otherwise, this section wouldn't exist, so... Woo! Shout out Sonic WikiZone! Yay! Let's get started now. Sonic Unleashed began development in mid-2006. And was originally intended to be the third installment of the Sonic Adventure series, but the early development stage had the working title of Sonic World Adventure, which is still seen in Japan. The reason it was removed from the Sonic Adventure series was due to the development team having enough new innovations to separate it from those games, and so Sonic Unleashed was decided as the title. Making Sonic as the only playable character was decided right from the start of the development, as the decision was taken to get more quality out of fewer characters. The Hedgehog engine first used for this game began development in mid-2005 after Hashimoto was put in charge of making a Sonic game for higher-end hardware. When excited at the prospect of making a game for the PS3 and Xbox 360 with no development environment, he and several other developers spent a year figuring out the technical aspects. The reason the game was demaked to the Wii and PS2 was due to Sonic 06 not being available for the Wii, thus leaving the only game for the console being Sonic Rush in 2006. Overall, this game started development way before Sonic 06 even came out, proving that this game was meant to be a far greater spectacle than anything seen in the Sonic series, and was moved to its own thing after the release of 06, seeing how they could improve the series. Sonic Generations development began after the completion of Sonic. I don't want to copy Wikipedia! Sonic Generations development began right after the success of Sonic Unleashed back in 2008, but that's when Sonic Team began discussing ideas of a 20th anniversary Sonic game. Takashi Iizuka, the modern head of Sonic Team, wanted a game that incorporated the best of Sonic's history and one that offered more replay value compared to previous games. The team then split the gameplay into two, one representing classic and the other representing modern. Dimps made the 3DS version of the game. While Sega was considering to make a port for the 3DS, they decided to start from scratch to make it a unique game. A version for the Wii was also planned, but eventually abandoned due to hardware and time constraints. This game also uses the Hedgehog engine, so the modern style compares to Unleashed quite well. The reason that you can implement the spin dash with one button is due to younger players who didn't get the hang of it at first. For the 3DS version, Sega wanted to use Game Gear levels, but the team opted for Game Boy Advance and DS levels due to them being more recent errors. Overall, Generations was developed much easier compared to Unleashed, making the engine much more viable for new players that are getting into the franchise. So for this section we're going to be talking about Colors and Colors Ultimate, with small sections differing them. Let's go with Colors first, as it was developed right after Unleashed, just like Generations, but following criticisms of games like 06 and Heroes, Sonic was once again the only playable character, while the Wisps were introduced to diversify the gameplay without slowing it down. One of the first setting ideas for the games was Eggman's amusement park, as Sonic Team realised that Sonic Adventures would be too small to contain here. And thus they decided on Eggman's Interplanetary Amusement Park, where the developers used Disneyland for inspiration. I'm not making this shit up. As most thought, Iizuka wanted this game to appeal to children and fans of Mario, as it was impossible to please all Sonic fans that had alienated previous entries like Sonic 4 and Sonic 06. The writers Pontac and Graf, which are infamous, were introduced at this time as well. Mad World and Happy Tree go check the Wikipedia for this game, it's bullshit. Sega announced this game on a blog post in 2010. I literally have no words for this game. What the hell was going on? Also, on November 4th of 2010, they announced a Sonic Colors themed ice skating event in New York City. Literally check the Wikipedia, I'm not joking. What the hell is this game? I guess this was sort of all over the place. That's the only thing I can describe. So, just check the Wikipedia, I'm not joking about any of this. Forces began after Lost World in 2013, with the game intended to have a dark tone compared to previous entries. The title was chosen specifically to signify the themes of power and teamwork. The Hedgehog engine was apparently updated during this time, so that the game had a different feel compared to Generations and Unleashed. Meanwhile, Sonic Mania was also being developed, but by a different development team, as it was a fan-official game in that sort of range. Apparently the game was produced in commemoration of the 25th anniversary, as the codename Project Sonic 2017 was used during the development. Various level ideas were being thrown around, such as a prison in Green Hill, and for the classic stages, they looked to Generations of Mania as a reference. I would go into detail about episode Shadow, but I can't find anything on that development. I assume it wasn't much though, due to it being 3 fucking levels, but then they made up for it in Shadow Generations, but still 3 fucking levels! Frontiers had a development stage of 5 years, which is one of the longest for any Sonic game. When they started Sonic Frontiers, they thought that for the inspiration of the game, they revisited the starting point and made an evolutionary jump to come up with the new playstyle that suits Sonic. When they were looking at Mario 3 in terms of the world map, they thought of an idea where open worlds could be used, as Sonic Adventure took that concept, but Sonic Team wanted to evolve it further by making it full-on gameplay that would combine the elements of Sonic games. According to Ian Flynn, the writer of IDW, they said that it would have a serious tone but not be as grim as Metal Virus from IDW. From other Sonic media that Ian had written, he pitched stories himself, but Sega described the premise of Sonic Frontiers and the characters that Ian Flynn was allowed to use, and then he considered it a dream come true to write a major Sonic game, which he's kept doing even with Shadow Generations. Another reason that this could have taken 5 years to develop was due to the pandemic that started in 2020 and ended at late 2020, maybe slowing down development time, but nothing was confirmed. Cyberspace was made so that enjoyers of 3D Sonic games would still have content that they would like if they weren't a fan of open zone styled games. They also tested how fast Sonic could run through the open zones compared to the fields in Adventure. It would constantly adapt with a trial and error process, but this was seen as Sonic's third evolution. Overall, Frontiers was a massive step up compared to Forces. Now let's move on to the last game here. Shadow Generations was developed along the year of Shadow, which was last year's marketing campaign for Sonic, which centered around Shadow, obviously. Frontiers' open world was used to add modern elements such as the white space and more free roaming levels. Ian Flynn was brought back with full imagination on how he would write the game, although he did have to stay true to Sonic Generations at the same time. I wish I could tell you I found more about this game, but that's really all I could find on the internet, and from reliable sources not true. Now I guess that's everything for the Sonic Boost games, or the 3D ones specifically. But I guess I didn't really discuss the problem with them in the development part, but I'm sure you could piece apart the problems with Pontac and Graf, Sonic Forces development time, and just the general state the franchise was in at some points of these developments. But that's just the general reception being Sonic-like. And that's pretty much it. So now, one day after realising that I only did one part, but now it's only 2 and I don't care anymore, bye guys.